Hey, I'm MJ Taylor, also known as a Black Wine Guy. I went from being a totally obsessed wine newbie to becoming the world's first ever African-American fine and rare wine auctioneer in less than 3 years. In this show, I'll be talking to the mavericks, the philosophers, the players, and the deep thinkers who inhabit the world of wine. They'll share their experiences on how they made it, but more importantly, how they failed and got back up again. So grab a glass and let's get to it. This is the Black Wine Guy Experience. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ and welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is owner of Ross Knoll Vineyard, co-founder and board member of SommTV, and executive producer for SOMM Films. Please welcome Diane Carpenter. In 2017, Diane and her husband David, of 34 years, cultivated their own vineyard in Sonoma County, California, and planted 3,000 Calera Clone Pinot Noir vines. Diane was an executive producer on SOMM, Into the Bottle, and SOMM 3. She is co-founder and board member of Forgotten Man Films, where they produce the ongoing SOMM series. And in 2019, Diane and her colleagues created SommTV. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's a lot.
That's
quite an introduction.
We've pared these down. These used to be like
accurate.
The whole page.
Yeah.
But we'll unpack that.
Yeah, I mean that's a summary of
a
decade. So that's a summary of what's really going on.
Tell us about the wine we're drinking.
All right. So this is what's close to my heart. This is what I set out to do a decade ago, kind of, sort of. Wine changed my life. How far back do you want me to go?
We'll talk about the wine, but we'll get into like how wine changed your life.
Okay,
for sure.
All right.
Just straight up tell us what we have here.
Okay, right now we are drinking a Ross Knoll Vineyard, which is my label, rosé. And it's rosé of Calera from the 2020 vintage. So it's 100% Calera. And if you see, we do it in a very Provence style. So very slight maceration of the skins. And so we like that pale pink color. It's actually gotten darker.
Yeah, it's got like that parasol, like those more elegant, and they're all different styles. But the parasol is when I look at this color, it's that very pale.
It doesn't take you to Sonoma, right?
Right. No,
when you
not at all.
just to look at it.
No. And then I was wondering if it was Rhone varietals, like if you had bought the fruit for this, but this is actually a rosé of Pinot Noir, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
it's 100% Calera.
You don't see this that light, You see a lot of Van Gries from people.
Yeah. It's we wanted to do something. It's a very delicate clone, Calera. So we wanted to do something that was representative of the clone, of the vineyard, of who we are on the nose, and also it's low alcohol. It's 12.5% alcohol. So we pick at a lower bricks, at the minimum side of the bricks level that we should be picking for rosé.
Right.
And we're super proud of this. This one is Cuvée Chelsea, after our second daughter. The first rosé, we made very little of it, was Cuvée Kimmy, because she was getting married that year.
Oh.
This was Cuvée Chelsea, because she was graduating law school and starting at her law firm. And 2021 vintage is Cuvée Finn after,
I love this. It's a family. It really is a family affair.
And this year will be Cuvée David because, sorry, David, I'm going to tell everyone, he's turning 60 this year. I just revealed his age. It's very competitive in our household.
That's so funny.
I have to remind him.
I mean, does he get upset about that? Like most dudes don't?
No.
I mean, he's not an actor, so it's not like he's trying to...
No, he looks
book roles.
Darn good.
He's a good-looking man.
Yeah, and you know what?
He really is.
He's young mind.
He's got that good hair, that good gray hair.
Incredible hair.
Silver fox type thing going on.
He's a little Laurie, but he's pretty good. I'll keep him. I've kept him for a long time.
You've had him for a while.
Yeah, I met him when I was 14.
All right, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. That's a whole thing.
We'll get into that.
That's the whole thing.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. So you were born in the UK.
Right.
Whereabouts?
I was born in Manchester, but I grew up in Sussex, so I have a Sussex accent. We lived in Manchester for maybe a year. And then we moved south. Now, our family in the north of England goes back centuries. And my immediate family were the only ones to ever move south. And my sister and I married foreigners. My sister's first husband. And we married foreigners. So we completely broke tradition.
Rebels.
We were.
Rebels.
Yeah.
So are you, so do you watch football?
You mean soccer?
I mean football.
English football.
Yes, it's football.
What? Oh, good. I like that. No, I hate it. So
I mean, because you're from Manchester, like you're supposed to be like Manchester,
well, that's
they
the
die.
thing.
That's why I asked. It's so funny. She hates it. I love it.
No. I hate it because I was surrounded by it. My father, my brother, everybody was so into football, and it just like on the weekends dominated. It felt like it dominated like that in golf. My parents were avid golf players. And so I don't play golf, hate golf, and I hate football. And they say childhood doesn't affect you, right?
I don't know who says that.
Yeah.
So tell me about your upbringing. What were you like as a child? Were you precocious?
I was. My husband calls me a force of nature, and my grandmother would say the same thing. I grew up in a very kind of formal, traditional English setting where women had a place. I mean, that's how it was. That's how I grew up. And I knew at a very young age that what was happening around me was very wrong and not how I wanted to be. And so I was always looking, if you like, others would call it rebelling, because I knew that there was something else. I knew that this was not my destiny. And I had to figure out what that destiny was. And, I remember the way women were being treated, and my mother, she passed away 16 years ago, but my mother was a male chauvinist, but my dad was a better version of a man than her father. Her father, she was a woman and a waste of space, and there wasn't a lot of affection there. So when she met my dad, he was a better version of a man, but he was still a chauvinist, and she kind of agreed with that because of her upbringing. And I always remember I used to challenge my mom and dad and say, why do men make more money for the same job? I mean, this is a 10-year-old. I used to ask these questions and ask challenging questions. And my mom, same answer, because he's a man, Diane. He's a man. I'm like, no, but they're doing the same job, right? But he's a man. And I always got the same answer. And and also about racism was the same. Not my family. My family, not at all. But we were surrounded by it, absolutely surrounded by racism. And I used to challenge those questions too, as to ask why, And I think, so that kind of, people used to think of me as a rebel. And then I hated school. I found it very boring. And that's because I really hadn't found what I wanted to do.
Right.
I'm somebody to this day who doesn't really like to be told what to do. But I loved art. Art, English literature, and French were my strengths. And that's what I focused on. I went through a phase when I was in art school. And but you know what? That phase had to happen in order for me to move forward with my life. It was one of the most important phases of my life. I don't remember much about it, if you get what I mean. But definitely
sounds like a short, strange trip.
Yeah, early 1980s, I would say so. But
we've all had, not all
phase.
of us, but I think if you're creative, you probably had a phase.
You do, but you know what? Did it, got it out of my system, over it, and I've never been in any part of that phase since I was 21 years of age.
Oh, good for you. I had a long phase.
And people are rephasing.
I was saying, exactly right.
People are rephasing now, right? Yeah. But you know what? I did it. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
It was part of what I needed to experience with the kind of person that I was at the time. Came through it, and those years were very informative.
Yeah.
But I met some of the best people I ever met through those years.
Yeah.
And I was one of the last. Do you know the Stonehenge Festival that used to happen in England?
Yes.
Yeah. I was one of the last people to be kicked out of the Stonehenge Festival. I'm very proud of that.
I would be proud of that.
I was very. It's like your Woodstock, but this was like an annual thing.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of that. And
because actually festivals were more prominent in Europe than they were in the States. I mean, that's huge festival culture over there. Pre-COVID,
huge music following in the UK. People dance well. Most people sing well. I don't. But most people, sing well. They're just music is a big part of our lives. We always have it on in the background.
Yeah.
Music changes your mood, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I forgot who we had on. I don't know. I've had a lot of these conversations, but music comes up a lot. And I was telling somebody, music is an anchor. Like you can hear a song you heard, like the first time you heard a song, 1980, you can remember where you were when you heard that song. It takes you right back. It's the same thing with wine, like the scents in wine. I think music and smell are two things that anchor you, can take you to that moment.
I could not agree more. There's one perfume scent takes me to my mum.
Yeah.
And like I said, all along the Watchtower, takes me to Stonehenge, takes me to that phase in my life, a really happy phase. Music there's so much power behind those things.
Yeah, I think it is a universal language. Like I know it's said, but I don't think people actually get it cuts across everything,
Yeah. And it's the commonality. I mean, you can't be divided, there's no money in it, there's no race in it, no ethnicity, no issues, no religious issues necessarily. It's something that we all have in common, which we can say the same about wine.
And that's the same thing with wine.
About wine.
Yeah, that's kind of my foray into this, was like music and wine are so wonderful because there's a connection, and they bring people together.
They do.
And then when people come together, you can have conversations.
Right.
So
absolutely.
So where did you do university over there, or did you?
I went to art school.
Okay.
So it was different in England when I was growing up.
Okay.
So only 5% of students went to university. Most people went off to specialize in something.
Right. Vocation. We call that vocational education, VOTech over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they went on to succeed. I mean, really succeed. I was that, hippie kind of spoiled young English girl who lived and loved life and went to art school.
How many? Did you have siblings? How many?
I had two siblings. Oh. My sister, Lisa, she lives in British Columbia, Whistler, British Columbia. Mm-hmm. And my brother lives in North London, in a place called Harpenden, North London.
Now,
and they're older.
I was saying, so you're
just to be clear.
I was like, when you said you're that girl, you were the baby. When you said you were the baby of the family.
As was David, right. Both the babies of the family.
So, what's art school like there? Is it a program? Like, is it? How long does it take to finish art school?
It's 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3 years. I studied fine art. I worked with oils, and I also did drawings and things.
Wow, I'm finding out so much about Diane Carpenter. You didn't even know. So, how old were you when you moved to the States?
22.
And why did you move to the United States?
Because of my man. I'm going against everything I said earlier, right, about my upbringing and No, but seriously. It's a fairy tale story.
Well, I love a good fairy tale. Yeah. I'm a Cancer. I'm romantic. I love a love story.
This is like,
come on,
so romantic.
Bring it on.
Okay. So my sister and I, we went to school in Switzerland when we were in high school, and I'm going to tell you my husband's version of the story because it's much more interesting. So what he'll tell you that he went to a girls' boarding school in Switzerland. And which is true. There were 100 girls and 20 guys.
And he's American, right?
He's American.
Okay.
So his father worked for Nestle in Switzerland. Okay. And he was one of the day students. There were 20 day students. So there were 5 girls to every guy. And not all these guys were super good looking, by the way, I might add. But they had really beautiful girlfriends. And
with those odds, I mean...
Well, you know what? I have to tell you, those 20 guys to this day are the most confident men, successful guys on the planet. It's unbelievable how it really helped them. But so when we got the school prospectus, I was looking through, I wonder if there's any English people at this school. and I saw the name David Carpenter. It's the only name I remembered in the book. So on the first day of school, I asked this girl next to me, I remember her name was Sarah Johnson. I said to her, Sarah, who's David Carpenter? And in that moment, I can still see it. He walked around the corner and he's holding his books on his hip over here. And I fell in love in that moment. And I knew that's the guy. I was 14. I knew that's the guy I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So moving forward, I was a shy English girl and I'd never met Americans before, and they were loud, but fun. I know. But for me, I know. But so much fun, and they're always having fun. And I just thought, well, there's no way he's going to be interested in me. I mean, the competition's too high, and so I would just stare at him longingly, and I never saw him look back. But apparently, when I looked away, he was looking at me. I remember his 17th birthday. And so the nightlife in Switzerland for these high school kids is they get into nightclubs because they're the ones who are buying the tables and the champagne and whatnot, you know. And so one of the guys bought a table that night and we all went to this nightclub in Lausanne, Switzerland, where we were. And I got asked to dance by 7 guys. The 8th guy was David. And he came up to me and he held my hand. And I refused all the other 7. I was like, no flipping way. And David came up to me and I remember he held my hand. He said, Diane, will you dance with me? I was like, yes. And honestly, and my girls are going to be mortified when I tell the story, but we went on the dance floor and we were just like making out. And I was like, this is the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. And it was such incredible, genuine, passionate love.
Wow.
Incredible love. Anyway, 1 year later, he dumps me. Oh, yeah. So he goes to university in the States. All right. So, you know, but before he left, we had this pact that back then he was actually going to be the president of the United States, and then he started smoking pot, and so that changed. But so he decided, you know, he's going to 4 years undergraduate, then he's going to go to law school. So we had this pact that no matter where our lives took us, after 7 years, we would get back together, at least to see if there was still a connection. We would still see each other in Switzerland and things. Mm-hmm. But so he dumped me, broke my heart. And my best friends will tell you I'm still not over it. And I'm not. I was 16.
Well, you're telling the world.
I am. That's awesome. I am not over it. Anyway. Skip forward, he goes to law school, we get back together. We do get back together. And then I dump him.
Of course you do.
It wasn't because he dumped me. It's because it still wasn't that time in our lives.
I get that, but you say that. I think you did.
We weren't going to be... Yeah, okay. That's your interpretation of the story.
As a guy, I'm like, I think there's a little like,
Yeah.
I'm just even the score a little bit.
Because you feel dumped right now. You feel like you sympathize. So yeah, okay, no. It wasn't like that. So, but we still had that pact. And when he graduated law school, he was seeing somebody, I was seeing somebody. But he sent me a ticket to come to Chicago to see if there was anything there. He had to route me through Canada so that my boyfriend actually thought I was going to go to Canada. Yeah, very sneaky. And then got to Chicago.
Such a lawyer.
I know, really. I know, really, right? And so...
Here's what we'll do.
Long way round, Edmonton.
Right, get the passport stamp.
Yeah, that's right.
Good to go.
I was in Canada, and so I showed up in Chicago, and it was just very clear that we needed to be together. So we were together for quite a few weeks, and then I go back to England, and he kind of proposed to me on the bleachers at a Chicago Cubs game. Okay. This was kind of, he said, if you move to the States, we'll be engaged by Christmas, we'll be married next year. You know, I'm 22 and I'm like, oh my God, this is so romantic. And so I go back to England, okay? I'm working, I think, for my father at the time and hand in my notice. I sell my 1972 MG sports car.
That's the worst part. That's the tragedy of the story.
Do you know what that was like? There's a tragedy right there. Yeah. And then he went MIA for 3 weeks. And in this time, I actually dumped the boyfriend, right? Yeah. And 3 weeks he went MIA. And I called his house in Switzerland, speak to his parents, and said, "Where is David?" It just so happened he was in the south of France at the time. So I'm the last person he's going to call, right? And I thought, this is crazy. What's going on? And his father, when David called home for more money, his father, because he's traveling penniless, his father said, "You better call Diane. She's looking for you." It just so happens that the following day, so this was a Friday night, I remember, and I had a flight booked to go back to Chicago and everything. And it was Friday night. He called me, and I was just yelling at him. He heard my temper for the first time. It just happened the next day, my ex-boyfriend had a plan to come up and propose to me. Saved by 12 hours.
This is good.
Yeah, this is really good. You can't make this stuff up.
No,
I mean, this
you
is real.
can't.
Anyway, so he got a Roller King. I moved to Chicago. I was illegal. I was okay, so this is interesting. When people talk to me about undocumented workers and illegal immigrants, I was one of those.
Well, I lived in the Hamptons. You know how many illegal Irish and British people they work on the boats and they stay.
Yes.
It's easy to be illegal in America if you're white. It's just a lot, and if you speak English too. You speak English and it's easy to be illegal.
You know, but that's exactly what people said to me. Because I talk about the fact I was illegal. They're like, "Yeah, but you're English."
Right. I'm like, you're still.
So I get a pass?
Exactly.
Now, it just so happened that I did get a job at the British consulate within 2 weeks. So
Okay.
in fact, I had...
So then you became...
I had a
you were
diplomatic visa.
Most legal.
Double whammy.
Yeah.
I was like... So fate has taken an incredible role in our lives. It's just how things have just kind of happened. It's just remarkable. Anyway, so that's how I came to America.
Well, I gotta tell you, that's like a Richard Linklater series, like Before Sunset, After Sunset, Before Sunrise, like that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love the fact that, like, y'all's like 7 years, because you are young, right? But like the fact that you guys did it, you know,
We did.
You know, you came back and saw each other.
Yeah, well, both of us, our personalities are we do everything we say we're going to do. Because if you don't try, you'll just never know, right? We're not these people say, "Oh, I want to do this," and you don't do it and you regret it. No, we take risks.
Yeah.
We've always taken risks, you know.
Yeah.
I have to take my jacket off. This is getting very heated, this conversation.
So 2 years after you came to America, I read you moved back to London in 1989 to start a family?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good time in David's career, and I was working at the consulate, so it was a really good time for us to start a family.
So what type of law does he do? Because he's like
Corporate
Chicago.
yeah, well, he's
London.
I know. So he's with a big law firm.
Okay.
And Mayor Brown. They are worldwide, and he is in corporate mergers and acquisitions.
Of course he is.
And yeah, of course, white collar. He transferred to London, which was a great move for his career. And he actually came back to Chicago. We came back because there was a couple of things. There were better opportunities for him to become partner in Chicago than in London, because at that time there were only 10 lawyers in Chicago, in London, and 3 of them were partners. Yeah, it's different now. There's like hundreds of them. But so we came back to Chicago, but also we had 2 daughters to consider. Okay. And I knew I wanted to raise girls in America and not in England. But
what was it like living in London for you? Because you were from Sussex. What was it like living in the big city?
Oh, I studied in London.
Okay, so
I'd lived there before, yeah.
Okay.
London is, to this day, my favorite city in the world. I absolutely love it. Just chose not to raise my daughters there.
Yeah. So back to Chicago when you came back?
Came back to Chicago, fell flat on our faces because we were living on an expat deal in London, which means in our 20s we were living like kings and queens. We had a nanny, we had a housekeeper, we had all those things, you know, and we came back to Chicago and suddenly back on salary, and we were like, oh, what happened? What do you mean we can't do this? What do you mean we can't have a housekeeper? What do you mean I have to clean?
Listen, what you're used to, people don't understand, like, what you're used to it's tough, right?
Yeah.
And so did you guys live in the city? Did you live in the suburbs when you were raising your girls?
Okay, all right. So I lie about this, and I'll tell you, we never lived in the suburbs, but we did because it wasn't the best experience for me. We were talked into moving to the suburbs when we moved back because of the so-called school issue. We should have researched it more because Chicago, the city of Chicago, have the most incredible schools. They're magnet schools.
Yeah, where in the suburbs? Because we had a guest on. Like, there's really good. Chicago has some of the best schools in the suburbs. Like literally, they made movies at those schools.
They did like Nutria and stuff. Yeah,
like those kids all went to Ivy League school. Like, it was a crazy school.
Yeah, Nutria.
Yeah,
in Winnetka, North Shore. We were in Glenview.
Okay.
But we didn't live in the suburbs too long. We did move back to the city. So the school that had the most influence on our daughters, they went to Francis Parker in Chicago, which is known to be one of the most progressive schools in America. And the warning bells went off when our girls were they were at Catholic school, and we are so not religious. They were in Catholic school in Glenview, and then they started to recognize racism around them. And they didn't like what they heard. They weren't raised that way. And so we knew that it was time to live in a more diverse place. So it actually became a full-time job getting them into a great school in Chicago. And they got into Francis Parker. Best experience. And they tell us to this day, best experience they had going to that school.
And they do have one of the best schools in America, beyond Parker, is University of Chicago Lab School.
Yeah.
That's where the Obama girls went. I mean, that's
very intellectual. Our girls did get in, but to them it was just.
Okay, I was going to say, you can go to lab school?
Yeah, Parker. So the three schools are Parker, Latin, and Lab.
Yep.
And they all have conversations, these three schools, about the kids, who's going to place them or whatnot. Right. And we had friends who had kids in the lab schools at the time, and the very academic family. And our girls, they shadowed, and they just felt more comfortable at Parker. And so that's where they ended. Luckily, that's where they ended up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, how long did you live in Chicago land?
We moved to New York in 2010. So we moved 1994 to 2010. 16,
oh wow! So you were there. So
a long time.
They graduated from school there, high school
there. Yeah.
And what was were you drinking wine then, or was that part of your life?
So this my epiphanal moment, right? That's what they call it. I was not, but then I did.
Okay.
So we actually have had presence in Naples, Florida for 25 years. And in 2004, we were down one of our visits to Naples at a wine bar, a new wine bar. And a friend of mine poured me a glass of wine, and a red wine, and I never really drank. I grew up drinking wine, old world wine. We grew up drinking Burgundies, but obviously it was not the good stuff. And,
I don't know about that. I mean, really?
Because I didn't have that moment of great, like, oh my God, this is amazing. But my friend poured me a Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, and it changed me. And in that moment, I was
it Harlan? Was it Colgan? Come on, drop a name. Come on, let people know.
going to, because this person has been my mentor and has helped get me to where I am today.
Okay.
Paul Hobbs.
Fucking Paul Hobbs makes great wine.
So I had no idea who the heck he was, and I drank this wine, and it changed me, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I went from that glass of wine to the classroom, and I became one of Paul's clients. And in 2011, he and his wife, Christina, they'd been married a month, came in to do a winemaker dinner, and actually in our neighborhood in New York. I have to tell you David's version of this story too.
Yes.
It's much more interesting. But we went to the wine dinner, and I said, okay, I'm just going to talk to Paul. I'm going to introduce myself. David says, I threw myself at him like I was some kind of cheap hooker. That's what he says. That's exactly what he says. Literally just did a beeline straight to him. But on the way, I met his wife, Christina. They'd just been married 1 month. And to this day, Christina and I are so incredibly close. So met Paul. He came to join us for a while at the dinner table. And I said, I'd love to harvest with you at some point. And he said, absolutely, you got it.
He said, you want to come down and do some backbreaking work, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. And so 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to San Francisco. And to do harvest for 2 weeks. So I'm going to, this is like, I was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what I was thinking, but I leave my beautiful Manhattan apartment. I'm in my designer shoes. I think I had Chanel boots on or something, and I had
That's awesome.
I got my designer luggage, and I'm flying to San Francisco.
The Louis Vuitton bag.
Yes, yeah, you name it. Actually, or Gucci, one of those.
Exactly.
And I rent a Jeep. I'm like, this is cool. And I drive from San Francisco
to wine country.
Yes, go to Sebastopol. I went they were accommodating me. I'll get to my suite. Okay, so I show up at the intern house. Okay, and I get out of the Jeep, and I've got all my designer luggage and my Chanel boots, and I knock on the door, and Christina Hobbs answers. And she looks at me, and she looks me up and down, and she goes, nice to see you, Diane. Follow me. I followed her. She takes me to a room with 4 bunk beds. And she said, that's your bed there. It's the top bunk.
And she got the top bunk.
I got the top bunk, twice as old as everybody else. And that was the most important 30 seconds of my wine career was right then. Yeah. Because if I had said, there's no way, got back in that Jeep, gone back to my place in Manhattan, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. And instead, I had one drawer, this much room in a closet. I threw everything in the closet. I put on my jeans, my fleece, my tennis shoes, and that's what I wore for the next 2 weeks. Best decision I've ever made. I was terrified. I was intimidated. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And I didn't realize at the time how lucky I was that Paul Hobbs took me into the vineyards with him and taught me. And so for the next 6 years, I would go out and harvest somewhat with him. And during that time, actually, David and I bought some property up there, which we cultivated. And
we'll get into that. I want to back up for a second because this is an incredible story.
It's a true story.
I hope you wouldn't come on and just spread misinformation. We're gonna have to put a CDC warning on my podcast.
Right. Might or may not be true.
Right.
But that's the thing, because people hear the story and they think there's no way. But
I think when people hear this story and they're like, "This chick showed up in wine country in Chanel boots," they're like, "Why would you say that if it wasn't true?"
Yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah,
I mean, that's who I was.
Green Acres moment.
Yeah. I mean, that really, really is who I was.
Yeah,
still have it a little.
There's nothing wrong with that. My wife brought 14 pairs of shoes to Paris when we went, okay? She had a suitcase full of freaking shoes.
Oh, I like your wife already.
Yeah. So you're fine.
Okay.
I do like that you said you threw yourself like a cheap hooker, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, seriously. He just didn't know where to look. He's like, oh, my God.
So you moved to New York, you said, in, what is it, 1994 to when? 2010. When you went to New York, you started studying to become a master of wine?
Yeah. So what happened was I started with the American Sommelier Association, where just about everybody starts. Mm-hmm. It was a really good foundation. I mean, a really good foundation. From there, I went to the WSET. And I also...
Which I got corrected, and I was like, what's that?
No, yeah, it's they will tell you, WSET. Well,
I know, Mary Ewing Mulligan told me, said, it's WSET.
WSET.
It's kindly and lovingly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they've earned that too. They're a very good organization.
But it's like so American. It's
no
like
scandal yet.
KFC. Like country, like just that's what we do. Like, what's that? Like, that's just my mind is programmed to.
And that's okay. And it just takes an MW to correct us and just say, this is what it's like, and we remember that moment.
I say it again. What's that?
Yeah, you're not alone.
I know, but I love being corrected because I don't know everything.
Yeah, well, that's how you learn.
Exactly.
Right? Otherwise, you don't know.
So you
WACT, but I also studied with the Society of Wine Educators, so I got my CSW, Certified Specialist of Wine. But I was studying I was halfway through my diploma. I was doing very well with my diploma. And passed every wine exam, except for one blind tasting. That was early on. And I really wanted to become a master of wine. Mm-hmm. That was my path. And then we had a family tragedy that changed everything. And it became an impossibility to continue my studies because I had to... Because I was studying 6 to 8 hours a day, and you can't do that if you're going to go for your MW, and I couldn't give it that commitment. But it's interesting how life takes a turn, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we got through the tragedy, dealing with it, went back out to harvest, and I knew where I belonged. I belonged in the vineyard.
Mm.
That's where I was my happiest. And so I went from the classroom to the vineyard.
All right. Well, this is a great time. We need to take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we'll start exploring Diane's adventures in the vineyard. So we'll be right back, everybody. Okay, we're back. So, one thing I'm getting to know about you, just having the conversation, like you take risks, you're very resilient. You try things. So you took an adversity and turned it into something positive. So what was it like being back in the vineyard? And then you said it went off, but like what did you say? What did you get from being in the vineyard again?
Well, so what we did was we hired a really great viticultural team who were recommended to us by Joy Sterling from Iron Horse Vineyards. Mm-hmm. She was our neighbor. So Iron Horse was right next to us.
Incredible sparkling wines.
Yeah. They
world class.
And world-class family too, by the way.
Yeah.
Super family, very well-traveled, just very, very interesting family. And Joy introduced me to our then viticulturist. And I was like the smallest project he'd ever taken on. I mean, 1.5 acres, 3,000 vines. But he saw a passion, I guess, that Paul saw, and saw that I was serious about this. And so there's so much into planting a vineyard. And one of the most difficult parts is the permit, getting the permit and going through the procedure. And you have to go through all these like soil analyses to do it. And one insect or one bug, if it's present in your vineyard environment, can ruin your chances of getting a permit. Because there's some like rare, and I think at the time it was some kind of
beetle. It's usually a beetle.
Yeah, it's a beetle, but it was actually
a beetle for some reason.
Yeah, it was some kind of lizard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some kind of tiger, something lizard.
Bug, Diane.
Same thing. Looks like a bug.
She's like, it was in the way of my permit.
Gotta be in the way.
Exactly.
And I said, just be typical that's the day that it's like tiger, lizard guns strolling through
the vineyard. Hey, Mr. Inspector Man. It's my family.
Yeah, that's right. We're all coming to live here. There go my vineyard dreams. But it just so happens that the permit.
Ooh, that's a good name for a movie.
Vineyard Dreams.
Vineyard Dreams.
Yeah. This is a bit like that, yeah.
Wow. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Where my brain works.
No, I like that. It goes off on a tangent.
Yeah.
So our permit lady, she's a lady.
Permit lady.
She showed up, and we actually barely talked about the vineyard because she's an equestrian.
See, I know. I knew there was an angle coming.
Yeah,
I was like she showed up with a Chanel bag. So I knew there was an angle. There was a way you were going to connect with her.
It's like you and I earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, and that's because there was something on her truck. I was like, oh yes, you're on such and such circuit. Yeah, blah blah blah. And we talked about horses, and we're walking through the vineyard talking about horses and doing all this. It's a paddock at this time, right? It's a paddock.
Yeah.
And she was really, really nice. And she liked the fact there aren't many women who were applying for permits as well at the time.
Right.
I wasn't a threat to anybody because I was 1.5 acres. We had our own well. Because the things that they're concerned about is water.
Yeah.
Because there's very little water up there.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to sustain your vineyard. And so I got my permit in 3 weeks. Apparently that was record time.
Yeah, that's like
record.
I've heard
3 years
stories, and then the 100-acre story. Like he's like, screw the permits.
Yeah, they can get in the way of everything. Yeah, they really can.
Yeah, like it's political because it's
life, right?
Yeah, it's life, right?
Especially the wine world.
Yeah,
it's just like a political mess at times, but not the winery vineyard world. That's what I love about it.
Right.
There are least amount of politics and
there's a love of the vine, of viticulture.
There's a commonality of, there's a community spirit, and which I can get into as well. But anyway,
we're gonna get into that. Yeah, get into it. Yeah. So what it was like when you come to Sebastopol. Were you known by that time from the Harvest with Paul Hobbs or anything, or?
Well, people talk. I don't know how I was known. I'm not sure it was in the best way.
It was like, that's the chick who had the Chanel boots, the Louis Vuitton.
I know, it's like...
We top bunked her.
That's right. I was top bunked. You know. Yeah, they were like, what the heck? Who the hell is she? But put it this way. You ask anybody who has known me over the years if they would see that I was doing this today, they say... A lot of people say, yeah, I can imagine she'd make her way there somehow. But others will say, there's no way. There's no way she'd get her hands dirty and do all this. And I suddenly got my hands dirty. And, I was a farmer.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand that's what making wine is. You're a farmer.
You're a farmer.
That was my first trip to California. Went to see Gary Pisoni. Actually, this was back in the day. I called information when you can call information, get someone's phone number. And he's like, why do you want to come see me? I'm just a farmer.
Yeah.
I'm like, because, dude, your wine is so good. So speaking of that, why the Calera clone?
It was actually, I don't know if you're familiar with the brand Radio Coteau.
Yes.
Eric Sussman.
Mm-hmm.
He's a what I call a wine crafter. He's a great winemaker. And there's a vineyard. It's out near Bodega Bay. It's pretty far west in the Sonoma County wine region. And it was called Platt Vineyard. And he sourced Calera clones from there. And I tasted his 2012 Platt Vineyard Calera Clone Vintage. And I was like, wow, that's exactly the expression of Pinot Noir that I'm looking for. So I knew the clone. That was easy. And so that's why we decided to plant the Calera. It's just very feminine, It's lighter, it's feminine. Has the most beautiful aroma.
Like you, elegant, refined. Is this the same? Is this like Calera from like the Central Coast Calera Jensen? Is that what's or no? What's an origin?
Well, Calera actually, I don't know if you know this. It's actually rumored to be from the Romane Conti vineyard. Okay. It was one of those suitcase clones, but
like Gary supposedly has one.
Yeah. Take it over in the suitcase.
Well, back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, there was like really no security. So
right.
Like you just. Right. Shove it down your pants. He shoved it down his pants, hopped the wall at DRC, shoved it down his pants, and brought it back and planted it in St. Lucia Highlands.
So similar story.
Okay.
So my understanding is Josh Jensen. Yeah. That's where it came from. Yeah.
Those dudes were crazy.
Mm.
But
they did it.
But exactly.
Yeah. We're all benefiting from it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's naughty. But
that's crazy. That Calera Jensen, which he sold a few years ago, but like. Such a great Pinot Noir.
Yeah. You know what? They are exquisite, the Pinot.
Yeah.
The ones which are made really well, which is a lot of them, they're just easy to drink. Easy to drink, easy to share.
Oh my God. I just thought of a story. This is why she likes me. So when I first got in the wine business, like in the late 90s, 97, and I was working at Acker, there was a Japanese graphic novel. And, they're really into wine in Asia. And like the hero basically was the SOMM. And he had two wines. And one was DRC and one was Calera Jensen. And it was like the only thing close to DRC is Calera Jensen. Like that was in this graphic novel in the 90s.
Romane Conti.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah. And also you said it's small, but I mean, you actually have a very Burgundian size vineyard.
It is. It's like a small portion that most producers will have in a Grand Cru vineyard. Mm-hmm. I think, is it La Tâche, which is only like a couple of acres? I think. Yeah. Something. Yeah. And some of them are very, very small. Yeah, it was. I don't have it anymore though, the vineyard.
No? Mm-mm. What'd you do? You sold it?
Well,
are you buying fruit from there? Tell us the story.
So, one of the most hardest decisions that I ever made, most heartbreaking decisions, apart from giving up my MW for the right reasons, was selling the vineyard. This was post 2017 and 2019 fires.
Oh yeah.
And living on the East Coast, we live on the East Coast. We were running a vineyard. We had a team. It was very expensive to do all this. And just the fears of the fires. It was getting harder to get insurance. We had to make a decision where we were going to focus most of our lives. Mm. And our daughters, both on the East Coast, we're very close to our girls. And I was away from home more and more. And I missed my East Coast life. I can't lie, but I love California. I'm so torn.
Mean, wine country
so
is so
torn.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I have champagne problems. I know that. I do know that. But even so, it's, you know, when you're...
But their problem, people don't understand, like the effects in your body are the same. People, the chemicals in your brain that fire, I think people like to downplay it, but yeah.
It's terrible.
The champagne problems are still problems.
Yeah, and because I loved the farming life. It was good for me. And, you know, that's where my passion was. But we sold the vineyard, but we kept the rights to the vineyard. Okay. But last year, this is the last vintage ever from our vineyard. Last year, the vineyard was destroyed by frost. And we had to make a choice. And in order for it to turn around and become a great vineyard again would take a long time. And I think they're talking about regrafting. And so my first call, when we talk about life full circle, my first call was to Paul Hobbs. Because we've been working together and, you know, we've done vertical session on him. He's going to be in our next SOMM film. And we've got this ongoing, like, beautiful friendship through the world of wine. And just, you know, giving back. This is like giving back. And I texted him saying, Paul, I've lost my vineyard. We need to source fruit. Do you have any fruit you can spare? He doesn't sell fruit to people. Within 30 seconds, he texts me back and says, I have you covered. And he sold us a couple of tons of Pinot Noir, Clone 667. And we've made the rosé, 2021 rosé, Cuvée Fin, is made out of 667. And then Linmar was the other relationship, and they sold us 1.5 tons of the Mount Eden clone, which is we've made some white Pinot Noir out of the Mount Eden, and we have 2 tons of Pinot Noir aging in barrels presently, 667 and Mount Eden, and then we'll decide what to do with that. So moving forward, we are now going to be sourcing grapes every year.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're making 60 cases of Cab for David's 60th birthday this year. From Cab's coming from Paul.
Wow. Is he making the wine too?
No. Our winemaker, he's going to, Justin Seidenfeld. Okay. Justin is, so here's another story of life. Life is full circle in the wine world, the winery world. The fires of 2017, Justin and his family's house burnt down literally as they're escaping it. It was Justin, his wife, the 3 little girls, pet cat, and parents. And my neighbor, she knew that I was heading back to New York, and she called me and said, Diane, you know, they need somewhere to live. They're homeless. And I never forget her bringing them to our home. And it was devastating. And I was supposed to be leaving the next day. When I saw them show up and they were all talking and crying and it was very emotional, I went in, packed my bag, literally gave them the keys. I'm like, it's yours. This house is yours. I can go back to New York City. They had nowhere to go. And we immediately created this bond. And he is actually the winemaker for Rodney Strong. Okay. And all of Rodney Strong's high-end brands as well. He and I have this nerdiness in common where we just love to craft wines. And he really, you know, he wants to do this. He wants to craft wines with people. And he and I just have the same style and taste in wine. And so he seemed, I just didn't think that he would want to be my winemaker necessarily. And when I asked him, he was like, absolutely. So, you know, that's tells you a lot about that community. It's an unbelievable community. Everyone comes to each other's help.
That's really incredible story.
So Justin will make the Cab. He's very excited about it.
David, she didn't put your birth out there, your age out there several times.
What was that? 60, David? 60?
Yeah, so I'm just acknowledging just when you listen to this, you heard me. She broke up with you on purpose at a second time, too.
Yeah, this is payback. Yeah. From when I was 16 years of age.
Maybe she'll get over it now.
It's helping. Wow, it is helping.
That's good.
Yes, I do. I feel better.
People do come on here and start talking about stuff I don't. I'm not the Maury Show. I'm not trying to get people.
Oh my gosh, you just have a way about you.
Thank you. So, boom. How did you come to meet the creators of SOMM documentary film? How did that happen?
Okay, so that's interesting. So when I was studying in New York City, just being out there, you know, in New York, you cross over with people all the time, master sommeliers, other people. Everybody.
When you have champagne problems, you do. When you eat an EMP, like, you're going to come across. But anyway, I digress.
Here we go. I am really good at putting my foot in my mouth.
No, you're not.
Happens all the time. But
it's true. That's why, like, even me, when you go to wine tasting, I have a podcast now, people start to recognize, you do. Yeah.
Well, these were actually Laura Maniac. It was Laura Maniac at the time. Her wine classes, I was attending those for tastings and practice with tastings and stuff. I was introduced to somebody, a master sommelier.
You could say me.
I was introduced to Jeff Kruth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
listen.
Yeah. So
this was pre stuff, right? It's listen. Anyway.
Yeah. So I was introduced to Jeff, who then he was part of the second SOMM film.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And they were looking for an investor. And so he introduced me to Jason Wise, and Jason called me, and we had a conversation. They said they need someone to invest in, help them fund SOMM into the bottle. We had a long conversation. We got along really well. And I'm like, absolutely. And that's how that relationship began. And they knew that, but it was more than that. I became very involved in like putting events together and things like that. And just, I want to be much more of it than just, you know, an executive producer and investor. I wanted to be part of it because of my passion for wine. Mm-hmm. And so we're sitting down talking about, it was in our dining room in Sonoma, in our house in Sonoma. And I remember we were sitting around, there were 6 of us, because there's actually 6 founders who founded the parent company. And we talked about making other films, especially the next SOMM film, SOMM 3. And David, being a lawyer, said, well, we have to find, you know, build a company to do this. So we had to do it properly. We're going to need to do a friends and family round, raise some money, you know, to be able to make all these films. And so 6 of us, it was Jason, Christina Wise, Jackson Myers, super talented people, David, Brian Rashevsky, and myself. We built the company. And then in 2019, so we built the company in 2018. Mm-hmm. We released SOMM 3. It was a huge success. We ran amazing events all over the country. I did a lot of events with Dustin and a lot of the cast members.
That was the Burgundy versus, that was the Pinot Noir from Mount Royal, right?
Exactly, that tasting.
Pascaline.
Yeah, and around that table. I witnessed that. I was there for that filming, and it was extraordinary. You can't make that stuff up. And it was just such a beautiful evening. And we got to know Sarah Thomas, and, you know, and
she's awesome.
She's extraordinary. She's extraordinary. And
was she in that?
Yeah, she was around that table.
Wow.
Yeah, she was around that table.
Oh, damn.
And Aldo was there, and love Aldo. Oh yeah, he's
elusive. Been trying to book him for a year.
Oh really? He's a super nice guy.
I know. He's just
super
elusive.
Nice guy. Mm-hmm. And so we ran some very successful events, mm-hmm. And then in 2019, I get a call from Jason Wise. He says, I have an idea, hear me out. And you have to understand how many times I've had those calls. I'm like, okay, I need to pour myself a glass of wine, sit and listen to these ideas, because they're always, usually brilliant ideas, and, we may or may not follow through with them. And this was an idea that actually came from Christina and Jackson and him. He's like, and what we're trying to do is like dodge the middle guy,
right?
This distributor and stuff. Why don't we just distribute our own stuff?
Right.
So he's like, well, what do you think about a streaming network? And I'm like, what? And so I was like, he said, what do you think about streaming network? And I was like, okay, walk me through it. And so we got our whole board together, which are the founders, basically. And we talked about this, and we said, okay, we're going to need to raise some more money to do this. And then we started the network, and then COVID hit. So we had all those challenges, but we kept creating, kept producing, and kept that going. And then last year, we had a very successful seed round for the company, and we onboarded a CEO. And our CEO, Mark Greenberg, he's actually a legend in the streaming space. And if we could have picked one person in the United States to be our CEO without any knowledge of who he was, with his resume and his experience, he would have been the one. And he came out of retirement for us. And because he saw something, and he's done this before with Epics. He took Epics he and his assistant took it from nothing to $1.4 billion sale to MGM. And great guy,
Damn.
New Yorker. And he, and was really interested in this. So anyway, so last year was exhausting. I mean, it's really exhausting. My husband and I were instrumental in bringing this together because he acts as our lawyer. I was courting Mark for 5 months.
How do you feel about you courting another man while you're married after 30?
Well, luckily, Mark and David get along really well, so that helps.
Did you run across the room like a cheap boozy?
Yeah, that's right. Again. But he's, we have Mark and his wife Tammy, and David and I have parallel lives. Our kids are kind of like there was just so much in common, and so we hit it off straight away. And I think that, after meeting Jason, Jackson, and Christina, he knew that there was something here. Mm-hmm. And so he came in, and he's great. Everybody really, really respects him.
And it's only February. So
September 1st he came on board. And at the end of last year, for the first time in my life, I actually suffered from exhaustion.
Really?
End of November. I spent a lot of December just sleeping. And hit us both like a ton of bricks because, we both have our own businesses, and I had to really put my business on hold to help get this done. And I didn't realize how much energy it was taking to do that emotionally and financially and all sorts of things. And hit me with a ton of bricks. And kind of when it was all done, and we had a first board meeting, went back to Naples, and I literally slept for 6 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
through it now.
Let's talk about, I want to back up. That's amazing. SOMM into the bottle. You guys went places people don't get to go.
Mm.
Shav,
extraordinary.
DRC. Like, how did you just say, "Hi, I'm Diane"?
No, I had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Jason Wise has what we call in England the gift of the gab, and that is he's an incredible.
We call that here too.
Oh, you do call it the same thing here? Okay, all right. He's an incredible salesperson, and he's very, very smart and very knowledgeable.
Wise even.
Wise he what?
Wise even.
Why? Yeah, wise.
Yeah.
Wise.
I mean, it's in his name.
Yeah.
It would be really sad if he was not very intelligent.
I know. He is. He is. So he has a way with people that he's able to get them to do what he asks them to do. But he does it with people in the wine world, wineries and whatnot, very respectfully. Mm-hmm. And they enjoy working with us because of it. Jason is our spokesperson, but he's not alone. There's a whole team of people with him who work equally hard to make this happen. It just so happens people know he's the household name because he is the spokesperson and he has a way. Well, he has his podcast and, he talks to a lot of people.
So where are you guys going? Like, what do you like? You want to be on the level of like the Hulus and Netflix? What do you want to be like? Yeah,
it's there is a lot of ideas flying out there. But to your point, because of the reputation of our company and the positivity of our content, we have access to restaurants. We're going into the culinary space as well. We've got a bunch of films coming out this year, but we do have access to really good people because they know that we're not going to do anything that's going to offend them on screen. It's beautiful content. That's what it is. It's educational.
You're not going to have like a Jackass show where people go in and just act stupid in the restaurant and like Johnny Knoxville.
Who knows? You just, but the plan right now is we're licensing a lot of content too, which is great. But we really want to expand into lifestyle as well, travel and winery tours and events. And I mean, there's so much that we can expand on, but we're all in that, first 6 months of a new CEO and figuring it all out. And, there's a lot of baby steps and stepping stones and hurdles, a lot of hurdles. And that's what we're getting through. But we are going in the right direction. Our subscriber numbers are soaring.
I understand entertainment a little bit, but what can you tell us about some of the projects coming out that, without giving too much away, like what are some of the films you have coming down the pipe?
Okay, so we have the next film in the SOMM series, SOMM 4. It's about the beginning of wine and how it's called the Cup of Salvation. And, so we have some great interviews. It's from Armenia to Rome to Argentina. So, and Paul Hobbs, he's one of the first American winemakers in Armenia, and he has some projects out there. So he very much helped us with his partners over there film in Armenia. One of our board members, Eric Israelian, who's like, this guy should have been a priest. He's, a good priest, because he's a really nice guy. I know, it's like, not one of the bad ones.
That's so funny. That's so cute.
A good priest. He just received some kind of medal from the Pope. I mean, he's a really good guy, and he's Armenian. Mm-hmm. And so he's been instrumental also in bringing this film together. It's going to be beautiful, introducing new cast members as well into it. We've got The Whole Animal, which has been in the works for a long time. It's about all these chefs who, how you work and you respect the animal and you work with every part of the animal. We've got Ghosts of Spring Mountain. It's about the ghost stories of the wineries in California. So we have those as well. I'm probably missing out on lots of other important ones as well. And then we've got the Bobby Stuckey film coming up. About,
Is that about him or just the restaurant? Is that about the restaurant industry, all the work he's been doing?
Yeah, it's about the restaurant post, the COVID situation, which really needs to be talked about because, where corporate America soared during COVID, the hospitality industry suffered. And I think it's a topic that we need to touch on as we need to rebuild the hospitality industry.
Well, I don't want to be going to like Bennigan's and that's what's surviving now, right?
Yeah, chain restaurants.
Yeah, chain restaurants. Mm-hmm. It's disgusting.
So I think what we do is, especially in New York City, the community in New York is we support our friends, right? We go to their restaurants, we do their takeouts, whatever they have, we will help them in every way that we can.
Yeah. Lifestyle, like, I don't know, I'm throwing out ideas. Give you some free ideas. These ideas are free. Magazine at some time, we're going to SOMM magazine, like a Condé Nast type
We
thing?
have an online publication.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have an online publication.
I got to tell you, I like print, though. I love it.
I'm with you.
It's visceral.
Yeah,
I can touch it. I like the way a magazine smells.
I hate Kindles. I like hard copy. Give me a book, pages fall out.
Like,
I don't care.
I get online magazines, but like that's just staring at a screen. Like imagine getting on American Airlines or whatever airline. Is American still an airline? I don't
American,
know.
yeah.
Okay.
That's my go-to airline.
And like you pull out, and instead of Sky Mall, there's like this beautiful magazine of all these beautiful pictures of wine and vineyards and
especially
meals.
Travel.
Yes.
You can just capture it better when it's
right
in front of you.
Yeah.
Like everything. I agree. I think, I'm not sure if it's a generational thing. We do like things that are visual. I think that, we like phone conversations. We just like that connectivity, right? That's who we are.
I do see, though. I follow some young creators. This one young creator, he's put out a print magazine. I think, if you look at everything, nothing new under the sun, right? Everything's cyclical, right? So we were wearing Doc Martens. High school kids are wearing Doc Martens again, right? Like
skinny jeans. I wore skinny jeans.
Skinny jeans. I never wore skinny jeans. I don't get them.
Oh, yeah, the tighter the better. We used to lie down and all your friends would help you. Like,
no, that's
pull them up.
My wife used to do that. Like, just have to get like a pliers and pull the zip.
Yeah.
But like dudes, it was just baggy clothes. Like, we don't. Like, I'm a '90s kind of hip hop. I'm like, all right, bro, your pants are too tight, man.
Life is full circle.
But yeah, no,
Fashion
I think exactly. I think that's really cool. So, what is like, what are you really excited about in life? I know you just had a grandson.
Yeah. I'm excited about getting back on track with my business.
Okay. What is your business?
Ross Knoll Vineyard.
Okay.
So my business is Your Wine Stylist.
Yes.
Because I used to be actually a wine consultant and I had a lot of clients.
Okay.
And I helped them stock their cellars, and also I help them in the hholidays. I used to send out thousands of bottles of wine to their clients, and so I did that.
Business.
It was good business, yeah. And that's where I built a lot of relationships with wineries. And but now back on my own brand. So we just released our Cuvée Fin Rosé and our white Pinot Noir. The white Pinot Noir we barrel fermented, and we're super excited about it. I'm talking to somebody who's considering coming on as our brand ambassador. He's quite well known, and he's extremely talented and very lovable. And we're working on that at the moment. And we will bottle our Pinot Noir in the summer. We'll release it this time next year.
What vintage is that?
It's 2021.
2021, okay.
So we want to release it in 23.
I wonder how long do you typically keep your wine, like your Pinot Noir in barrel?
So it's about 9 to 10 months. We'll know. Our winemaker, actually, Justin, he sends us barrel samples to our home in Florida. And I don't know if you've seen any of our podcasts where David and I like deteriorate.
No, I'm going to check it out.
He sends us samples, and we do the stories, and we're tasting them, and by, the fifth tasting, I mean, the two of us can't even put a sentence together. And yeah.
That happened once on the show where I got banged up really bad.
Oh, really? Yeah, this is already kind of.
That was early on.
Oh, yeah.
And I've done back-to-backs, but I was just strong. I was strong that day.
Oh, well, my thing is I'm a lightweight, and I make wine.
Yeah. Well, I had a guest on here who's a wine influencer, very well known, and she's like, my secret is I don't drink that much, actually. That's her secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is, it's a toxin. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is. I think maybe that's why we do 12.5% to try to keep it down so we can drink.
Yeah, you probably see my feed. I'm going to Paso Robles. I'm going to Rhone.
Oh, you are? Well, they're doing beautiful things, right? Beautiful things in California. Yeah. But so this year, the focus is building my business, getting my wine out there. The rosé really appeals to the younger generation. So I have to...
And also lower alcohol.
Lower alcohol. Yeah. Especially those, who are drinking like the cans of sugar and whatnot, and they want low alcohol. And but one thing I really want to press is that, a woman from my generation to be able to raise a family in the first part of her life is able to reinvent herself. And it's terrifying to do. And I have a lot of women who are raising families who talk to me about this and say, how did you do it? And I said, it's actually terrifying. And the hardest part about recreating yourself or reinventing yourself is your family, because they know you in a certain way. And all of a sudden you're like leaving them, you're doing other things. If you can get over that hurdle, then the rest is really easy. It really is. And, so what I want to say to, especially any man, a male or female who stays home to raise a family, life doesn't stop there. That's just a break. It's not a break because you're raising a family. That's the hardest thing you're ever going to do. But there is life after that. You can reinvent yourself and do something. And I am walking, living proof of that. And I tell people I was saved by a glass of wine, and because I didn't know what I was going to do, and that glass of Paul Hobbs Cabernet Sauvignon in 2004 saved me. And that is why we're sitting here today doing this.
Oh, man. We got the name for the show, Saved by a Glass of Wine, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think there was a publication in Naples that did a piece on me, and it's inspired by SIP, they called it, which I thought was very appropriate. But I think it's very interesting because people remember the moment when their life changes, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the smells that take us somewhere, and that's what's important about life, are those moments. Treasure those moments. It's not about what you have, what you don't have. It's about being able to embrace those moments and not taking advantage of them, and just, using them to better yourself, to educate yourself. And that's what's happened.
So you make Pinot Noir. Mm-hmm. Other than your first harvest, what do you like to drink?
White Burgundy.
White Burgundy.
It is so I have champagne on tap. gives me a terrible headache, but unfortunately I drink it like water.
Wait, I'm a little. Do you literally have a tap with champagne?
You might as well.
Okay. I was just because I'm sure that's an invention out there.
It's called David's arm. Right, you got David's arm, and it's pointed sideways, and he's just waiting me to finish one glass before he refills it with another one. Yeah, that's my tap. Champagne and white Burgundy, and with white Burgundy, and actually Dustin Verve Wine are the people who help me with my white Burgundies, and when they get some beauties in, they get like a case. They do contact me, and I'm like, I'll take this, and this. And it's a crowd pleaser. It's a great way of people, they say, so funny, but they say, I hate Chardonnay. I'm like, that's a shame. And so I don't tell them. I pour them white Burgundy. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, yeah, it's Chardonnay.
Well, I know. I've said this has come up several times on the podcast where, because I've worked retail, I have this little retail job right now, which in a supermarket. It's a well-known supermarket. And people will like, there's people who don't know that white Burgundy is Chardonnay. Like literally, I've had people like, and they're only buying a Bourgogne. Yeah. And they'll come in like, so I'll bring them like an entry level Fairy, whatever. It's $20. Yeah. Like, oh no, it's that's Chardonnay. I'm like, yeah, all white Burgundy Chardonnay. Yeah. It's ace.
Here's the thing though. I actually don't drink a lot of New World Chardonnay. I love white Burgundies. There's something about them.
It's completely different.
It is.
I mean, I love California wines, but like, man, for me, because I don't have champagne problems, I got like Bourgogne problems. But I find a good Bourgogne for like $30. Like, but a butt's like a real like they're like it's mostly Shoshana fruit, but it's got I love finding that.
I love Shoshana,
and it's completely different from.
It might be the row outside of the major row that you're picking. You've still got the same aspect. You've still got the same fruit. Right. I mean, this is what a lot of people don't understand is that. So one of my good friends, Margaret Tench, their Tench vineyards are right at the border of Screaming Eagle. They're cab vineyards, same aspect, and they make beautiful cab. It's the same area. Yep. You're talking the same grapes, everything. It's just, and so this is what a lot of the vineyards are like. It's about branding, right?
Yeah, of course.
Being able to brand. Yeah. But for a white Burgundy, Grace Evanstadt, who owns Domaine Seren, she has a white Burgundy, and it's a $30 bottle. I'm just trying to remember the name. I'll get that to you.
Thank you.
And it's a beautiful white Burgundy. It's it's more affordable for most people at $30.
Right.
And I know $30 is still a lot of money for people to spend on wine, but if you really want to treat yourself and just kind of start reaching into the white Burgundy world, that's a pretty good place to start.
So you said Domaine Seren. So I've said this. What do you think about? I think, to me, what's more exciting out of Oregon is actually the Chardonnays over the Pinot Noirs now. They're coming out pretty Burgundian. I've had some pretty.
What's his name? Scott.
Walter Scott.
Walter Scott. Yeah. That's a great.
Oh my God.
That is a beautiful Chardonnay. Same latitude, I think, as Burgundy, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and that's kind of the whole one of the the parallel was it's the same latitude.
Yeah, that's right. It's I love what comes out of Oregon. It's subjective. Wine is subjective.
Of course,
it's all about your own taste. If you want to drink a $10 bottle of wine, God bless you, fantastic, and you love that. That's amazing. My husband wishes I did. But it's, it's at times, and but I'm in the wine world, and I get to taste a lot of wine. Right. For me, I love the expression of Pinot Noir in California. I love what California does.
Me too. Over Oregon, Sonoma Coast for me is.
It's like. It's beauty in every sip. It's just.
I mean, I do enjoy. I lived in Santa Barbara. That's my one country. But Sonoma, there's something about Sonoma that I just love in the Pinot Noir.
Lovely. I mean, I always say the word is lovely. Yeah. When you can, it's a wine you can drink without having to pair it with food. Mm-hmm. It's a wine that stands alone. Mm-hmm. But I find white Burgundy is the same.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I'm always looking for those like killer white Burgundies. Like you said, even if it's like, I don't have, but like even if it's like $75, but I know it's like 90% Shoshana fruit, and it's like I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I know the value is there, right?
There's so many of those secrets out there.
Exactly.
That people don't, they don't know because,
like you said, it's branding and marketing.
But wine is so intimidating for people, right? It is such an intimidating topic. And I find that with people around me, they feel like I want everyone to blind taste. And I said, you're never wrong. And I said, honestly, I kid you not, what you tell me when you smell it and what you taste it, you are going to be so accurate. And I've forgotten because I've done this for so long. You are actually educating me and reminding me what is primary in this glass. And I love what I call virgin blind tasters. To me, they are the best blind tasters.
Yeah. Outstanding. So, what do I want to ask Diane before I let her go?
One thing I do want to say, and I talk about champagne problems, because I always talk about the brighter side of life, right? Because people don't want to hear about the woes and whatnot, is David and I have worked for everything that we have. And I think that the first 20, so we've been married 34 years. The first 15 years, we worked our tails off we barely saw David. It was impossible for me to have a career because then neither of us would ever see our children. We made incredible sacrifices. We went through 2008, 2009. A lot of people went through it, struggled through it. We came out the other side and we rebuilt. But there have been struggles. And I think that's where we have like this attitude about life now, that we just have fun with it. We live on, you see my Instagram. We're fortunate to live on the beach in Naples. And we did all that because of hard work. And it's something that we were striving for. But we still continue to sit at our desks all day long and keep this going with our 5-year plan. And hard work, really, really hard work does pay off.
I'm so glad you said that. I've had conversations, but literally today I follow a lot of different people, but I follow this one entrepreneur, and he works in the software as a service space, and he's like 35. And literally his video today was, I don't know anybody who's ever gotten wealthy without working hard.
Right.
Like I think people, there's this thing where we love the lottery winner or but even Zuckerberg, dude, worked like 20-hour days for like people don't get like
out of his garage or something.
You're not going to be successful if you don't work hard.
Right.
That's fun. Not saying you will be successful if you work hard, but you will never be successful if you don't work hard.
You're more likely to be successful but you have to love what you're doing.
Yes. And that's what I'd say. Like, first of all, it takes, to become corporate lawyers work freaking 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah.
Right? So like, he's a corporate lawyer. No, bro.
Oh my God, no. He's on call for his clients.
Exactly.
24 hours a day.
When you're dealing with people who are like 100 millionaires and hello.
Yeah, everybody I know who has done extremely well has there's one or two exceptions through maybe inheritance or whatnot, but some of them, take on what they've inherited and continue to work hard for it.
Right.
But they have worked that I've seen people come from nothing, absolutely nothing, living in their car, nothing, all the way to multi-millionaires because they're driven and they know what it takes and.
And then they make a wine. I mean, Kevin Hart was sleeping in his car. He's like a busy man. Now he got a wine.
It's fantastic.
Fantastic. Just so many people like come on and say, dude, I busted my ass.
Yeah.
To get where I'm at.
Yeah. It's exhausting.
But you do have to love it because otherwise it's a grind. How could you not love this?
Thank you. I'm going to send you my white Pinot. I'm going to send you Cuvée Fin, and then obviously, and I'm sure we'll talk before that anyway.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
I would hope so, Diane.
And I have to say, you had a recent guest talking about imposter syndrome, and we all feel that, right? We all feel that. I can't
believe I have this freaking podcast and people like send me messages. Oh, it's so great, MJ. Blah blah blah.
Yes, Yeah, absolutely.
I'm grateful, but like people don't get like that's another thing too. Like it's whatever you do, you got to work hard at it.
Yeah.
I'm able to have wonderful guests like you because I work at this craft. So.
Right.
Well, Diane Carpenter. Oh my God, what a pleasure! You are a wonderful woman, strong role model for women, your daughters.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And thank you for giving us some of your time here today.
Anytime.
And hope to see you around campus, which is I call the wine life we live in.
Yeah, well, trust me, there's now a connection. I mean, once you're nose deep in it like we are.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no turning back. We're always stumbling over each other somewhere,
Exactly.
And come out to Sonoma as well.
Absolutely. We have mutual friends in Sonoma too. Oh,
and I'd love to. I would love to introduce you to some great winemakers out there.
Yeah.
And I love that. Greg LaFollette.
Yeah.
And they had Thatcher on here.
Yeah.
And you know, and really, really good people.
Thank you. I've been blessed. It's my mom. I get along with people because of her. So people come on and people are generous and people recommend people. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, everybody who's listening. Diane, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can be a part of what you're doing.
Okay. If you go to my website, dianecarpenter.org, you can fill out a submission form. We do sell out pretty quickly. And we ship to California, New York, Florida, and Illinois. And we're working on Virginia right now. As our production grows, then we'll start shipping to other places, especially New Jersey, because I have a lot of clients in New Jersey, but they have places here. So
that's what I have to do sometimes because
ship it here and
my friend's place.
Yeah.
My producer's house.
And also, I just really love working with new clients. I have a lot of young women that they know my story. And they try the wine and they, and so it's so much fun. It really, really is. So that's how you can get hold of me, dianecarpenter.org.
Perfect. So make sure you go to Diane Carpenter.
Or on Instagram.
Yes, at your wine stylist. But actually, I would tell you, go to dianecarpenter.org, get on her mailing list. It's the best way to stay in touch with people if you really want to know what's going on with them.
Right.
Instagram could be going tomorrow, but dianecarpenter.org will always be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So everybody, until the next time, it's your boy MJ. Here's to our mavericks, our philosophers, our deep thinkers, and our wine drinkers. You've checked off all those boxes. Peace. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something. You had some fun while you were here. Please subscribe to the podcast and give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to. And if you want to be an insider and get special content, make sure you go over to blackwineguy.com and get on our email list.